Okay. Wait for thing to connect. Can't be utterly mental around the apartment. Who says it's connected? Let's see here. Live. Okay. Yes, I'd like to view in the dashboard, please. Which I would love it. Live control room. Aha. Now we're going to the studio. Not what I want. That's not what I want at all. This one. Aha. Jay is here. You have done things. That's good to hear. We're kind of prepared an hour or so. Well, let's see what happens in an hour. I'm recording the wrestling cast right here. Much as I can do. Time being. Alright, everything seems to be going. So here we go. Let's see. As I get my last little bit of audio going, get a backup. This thing started. Okay. What are you doing here? It's in the title, man. Alright, here I go. And welcome to the Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling Edition. It is episode 46, a dynamic Joshi winter at Final Gate. Yes. Nice, fun-filled episode. It is only this one and one last one to round out 2020. We got over 10 promotions to talk about here today. We're starting with Limitless Wrestling here. We got a lot of Joshi wrestling to go through. We got the Spotlight continuing down the NWA US title path. Getting down to the last couple here. We're continuing on All Japan Women. We're up to, I believe, this is the 9th episode covering that. We got lots of Puro. We got Stardom, New Japan, Dragon Gate. And then, of course, as always, rounded out with an old WCW Nitro. However, in this case, we have reached Fall Brawl of 1998. So how about that? And of course, I got beverage. Because where would beverage be without talking about some horrid WCW shows? But let's start on a good note. Talking about Limitless Wrestling, which is an indie promotion out of Maine in the USA. They did a show here a week or so ago titled Twilight Zone, which, upon recording, upon this live YouTube and Twitch stream, trying something a little bit different here, so if my audio sounds different, that is why. They will be at Limitless on their YouTube channel, going live with Twilight Zone. So if you're listening live right now, welcome. If you're listening on the iTunes or the Stitcher Smart Radio or the Spotify, hey, you missed out on some Limitless Wrestling, but you can go see that on IWTV. Highly recommend it. Limitless Wrestling, this Twilight Zone show as a whole was very entertaining. It was very solid. So much so that I'm going to go out of my way in 2020 to start going to these shows, because Limitless, they're out of mostly the Portland, Maine area, so it's a little bit of a drive, but not too much, where I don't think I will have trouble making it, as long as I can get out of work on time, and I'm not like totally busy that particular weekend. But I already got my ticket to the first show in 2020 in January. Very much looking forward to that. And on the show, it basically went 2 straight awesome matches. And then in the middle, throughout it all, was a lot of people that are regulars in the promotion. So this is kind of where from my understanding, Ace Romero kind of comes out of. They got what they call a tag team called the Maine State Posse. Quite punny there. So that was the chunk of the middle of the show. Very entertaining. But the 3 matches in particular that stood out was the IWTV title match, the independent wrestling title, Warhorse, formerly known Jake Parnell, defeating John Silver in a solid affair. Warhorse doing his shtick, Silver doing his shtick. Nothing particularly stood out in the match. It was just a solid bout in which Warhorse wins via the double stomp. An even better match followed, without stakes involved. It was Christian Casanova, a very bright up-and-comer that I see in Beyond Wrestling quite often. He took on Myron Reed, whom, if you listen to my mom and I discuss the weekly wrestling recap, which, if you're watching live here, you will have to go check out the show on iTunes and various audio sites to hear that. It will not be in the live stream. Myron Reed is part of the Injustice group in MLW. So this was your high-flying match. So while Warhorse and Silver was much more grounded, Casanova and Reed was much more of the quote-unquote indie flippy stuff, right? And the big spot right here was Myron Reed going, flipping out of the ring, flipping senton style, across the turnbuckle, landing on the outside, and throws Casanova back in the ring, and Casanova gets the flash win from there. A very, very entertaining match. My match of the night from Limitless Wrestling. And that was kind of the click where I go, I gotta finish the show, I gotta check out more main, and then the show just flowed from there, with the main event ending with Last Creature Standing. So a last man standing match between Ashley Vox and Chris Statlander. Statlander, who I'm very familiar with, seeing her journey through Beyond Wrestling, and in 2019, her journey going from essentially someone starting out as a rookie of sorts, and rising up through the ranks to now, as she finishes out the year, the contract in AEW. And Ashley Vox, her in Chikara, and occasionally in Beyond Wrestling, getting to the point where she is in NWA, or doing matches there. So they had a story, apparently, as commentary made it clear, they had a story in which Vox attacked Statlander so-and-so months ago, and used the turnbuckle hook to get her, and that's what caused this. Well, Statlander comes out, and like a bat out of hell, beats her up, and Statlander pulls out a turnbuckle hook from her boot right away. Maybe it was a bit too early. Maybe save that spot for the finish or something wild. The match was good. They worked hard. My main issue was it just felt like they were doing just spots. No rhyme or reason to anything in particular, especially when this seems to be what everyone's doing now when you do a last man standing match, is you pull the ring mats out, and it just leads to a big spot on the boards. Well, they did that, but then the match continued from there once they hit their big spot. Vox does end up picking up the win, I believe, off a Canadian Destroyer on the boards. I could be wrong there. but that was the second spot of the match. So it was good for an indie match. What puts matches like this over the edge is a structure, and that's what I felt this match lacked. There was no structure to it. It was, we're gonna go out there and do our spots, and that was more or less the Limitless Wrestling show. I very much enjoyed it. It looks like a very nice environment. It's, not everyone standing ringside like at Beyond. You get seats through it all, so it looks like a more chill environment with a good chunk of the same people that I'm more familiar with going to Beyond. Anthony Green is the champion, so they do have their own Limitless title there. And coming up in the show in January, there's Brian Pillman Jr., who's been confirmed to be going, and a number of other people, so very much looking forward to that. That is Limitless Wrestling. That will move me on, as I make my notes here for the timestamps. That will move me on to Tokyo Joshi Pro, in which I have a drop, ladies and gentlemen, for Tokyo Joshi Pro. I got new drops today. This is very fun. 世界一可愛いのは伊藤ちゃん。本当の愛を探すんだ。Yes. Maki Ito's music. Could not help myself. She is almost the whole reason why I'm very much into, just at least at the very minimum, checking out TJPW more often. They had a show back on December 7th. It was called Makeup is Very Fun. It looks a little flashy, and that will stretch your back. So I love, they're very much in the DDT universe. It's absolutely ridiculous, some of these titles. The show itself was more or less entertaining, but it's still quite hard to get into. And I really just need to go through these matches quite fast. Press for time, A, and B, they weren't all that great either. So Maki Ito defeats Haruna Neko in 8 minutes. Basically, the match went, Maki is better than you, and not much else. So that was followed with, she's still the Princess Champion, and she's the cutest one in the world. Answers that. There was a tag team match that followed of Mina Shirakawa and Yuki Kamfuku defeating Mizuki and Pam Harajuku. Just under 10 minutes, lots of goofy comedy and rough wrestling. This was not great. This was one I recommend skipping, even though some vets are involved. Not one of my favorites of the year for women's wrestling. Now, one that was actually quite solid was the Miyu Yamashita match, whom she defeated Mahiro Kiryu. Went just under 7 minutes. Definitely the best wrestling match on the show, but still was mostly a Mia running a young talent through the motions. So you see where this is what this show was. It was some sort of person higher on the card, wrestling up against someone very low on the card. In a lot of ways, it was like an ice ribbon match, but instead of everything's filled with tag titles, or not tag titles, tag matches, to kind of hide the rough wrestling, TJP decided to go through singles matches. Very interesting. But yeah, Miyu Yamashita, haven't seen a whole lot of her, but ever since few people in the community here, I've been very enamored with her wrestling style, how she carries herself, and this was no different here. Yuka Sakazaki defeats Raku in a match that seemingly went on forever. It was 10.5 minutes. I can only describe this as heel Yuka getting comedied. Yes, as a verb. Throughout until finally winning. Raku's like tomahawk chopping her head, and it's real goofy. Very much a idol Japanese type match. So if you're into that, this would be entertaining for you. I just think it went way too long for what it was trying to be. Then the main event was Saki-sama taking on Misao, and this went just over 10 minutes. And this was at least the most interesting match, albeit very rough wrestling-wise. Saki-sama is someone who carries herself extremely well, has a very good look to her, but her wrestling is very limited, and it's a lot of kicking, just a lot of booting. So the match, besides the rough wrestling, I was into it for the most part. It just never reached a peak with me. So sorry, but this card is why I find it tough to get into TJPW. But oh well, that's okay. I am getting much more familiar with some of the better wrestlers within Tokyo Joshi Pro, and that's what it is at the end of the day. With that, we'll not have a drop. I will just mark my timestamp here and go straight into a particular match that was, I believe its last Word on Pro Wrestling, had as one of their top 10 matches of the month, and that was the Seedling Dynamic Showcase show. I ended up watching the whole show. It's called Kawasaki Monogatari, Story in Monogatari. Oh, I'm sorry, Story in Kawasaki. Have my Japanese mixed up there. But the main event is the only thing we're talking about because it's so good. It is for the Beyond the Sea title, their main title, one of the ugliest titles, not only in Joshi wrestling, but wrestling altogether. This thing's hideous. Looks like a piece of plastic with some metal on it. Slap. The main event was Arisa Nakajima, the champion, against Nanae Takahashi. Now, do those names sound familiar? If you're a frequent listener of the podcast, they shouldn't, because I've never really mentioned their names before. However, if you're a Joshi connoisseur, you will know both these names quite well. Arisa is a veteran, while Nanae Takahashi is a super veteran. She comes from the All Japan women era still. This is her promotion as well. And I got the whole backstory. I watched a few of their old matches to get a feel for it. I got the whole story behind it, and I really hope my research is proper. If it's not, and I messed up some of the story, I apologize, but this is what I got from going into this. The small backstory is as follows. Arisa Nakajima started in the darker days of Joshi, and even retired early into her career. She was in a promotion called JWP, even winning their top title, where she had a good run. She's former tag partners in long storylines with Tsukasa Fujimoto, in which they were called best friends. That's funny for AEW fans out there. And another with Kana, aka Asuka from WWE. Arisa, in short, is a best bout beast machine with the best of the best, considering the era she's from, in the early 2010s. Okay? On January 26, 2017, Nakajima wrestled her first match as a freelancer from Seedling. Okay, that's the promotion we're in now, we're talking about. Losing to the promotion's founder, Nanae Takahashi, in the main event. So, after the match, Nakajima stated that she would not give up until she defeated Takahashi and wanted to join Seedling, in which then that condition was accepted by Takahashi. So there's your groundwork for this story here. This was in January 2017. This is very important to know. So, much like a wrestler that I have talked about in the past on this podcast, Takumi Iroha, the ace from Marvelous, Arisa Nakajima is a backbone to the smaller Joshi promotions out there. She is, in itself, a top talent, okay? Arisa finally captured the Beyond the Sea title, beating Iroha, of all people. It's more or less why I mentioned her, at more than 2.5 years of chasing this Beyond the Sea title, okay? This was back at the September 18th show. I did watch it. Match was fine. I seeked it out. I just thought it was a little slow. So here we are, almost 3 years since Arisa Nakajima has joined Seedling, losing all 3 times to Takahashi in their one-on-one encounters. Finally has the title to convince Takahashi to this match. Okay? Get off the table, kitty cat. Telling a good story here. So her title in her promotion, basically. The stipulation then was added that the hair must also be on the line, because now Arisa has the advantage in this situation. I love this story so much. So I hope I have all those facts straight. So before the show, Seedling shows off a brief history of all the hair v hair matches in Joshi, including Chigusa Nagayo, that against Dump Matsumoto, feud leading to Chigusa losing her hair, and some Manami Toyota and Yamada hair versus hair matches. Very much All Japan Women Classics. I bet when I get to that point of seeing the Manami Toyota hair matches, it will be very, very impactful, much like the Chigusa one. And sure enough, there were people ringside throughout it all. So, presenting in front of the presentation of the match, there was Manami Toyota and Yamada right then and right there, and Tsukasa Fujimoto, very nice touch, in the corner of Arisa Nakajima. This whole just presentation all from the entrances, the people involved, whom is in whose corners, all matched to make this feel like it was the most important match in Joshi in 2019. The match itself, it went through all the proper channels of how to build. It went through feeling out phase, went through hard kicking, see whom is kind of the top dog in the match. It went through the very stiff forearm exchanges, where anytime they, needed a break or wanted to catch their breath or were in between big time maneuvers to gain control, they just stiffed the hell out of each other and made it count. Both of them were just bruised all over. At one point, Nakajima gets her mouth busted open, so she's bleeding, creates some good visuals there. And Takahashi was just not messing around. She was serious from the get-go. Nakajima playing a cocky heel, something I have desperately missed in a lot of women's wrestling. Like a true, I'm cocky, I have the advantage, this is my moment situation heel, right? Nakajima played that so well. And it just goes on and on and on. It reaches the apex of what makes a good match great. I am a firm believer in men's wrestling that apex time is 20 minutes. If you can carry a match to 20 minutes and then bang, you hit your form, that's when it goes from good to great. In women's wrestling, just from an observation, how I keep time and how things go, it usually reaches that apex at 15. For some reason, it's much more difficult with how women wrestle and the different styles, that it's just 15 minutes. It's much more difficult for them to reach a 20-minute mark. Well, this match reaches that 20-minute mark, and that's what separates these great women's matches of 2019 from grand women's matches of 2019. So this match is definitely regarded as one of the best matches of the year in terms of women wrestling. I would wholeheartedly agree. Arisa Nakajima does get the win off oh my god, I didn't write. It was the half Nelson suplex pin. Near falls, fantastic. The finish, fantastic. There was maybe one botch in the match, but you can't even tell because they were just so exhausted at one point. Just something kind of fell through, and I actually, for some reason, I really prefer that. I believe I spoke about how a little roughness around the edges kind of attributes to a match more than everything just looks so smooth and perfect, right? Because that's not what sports is, right? That's not what reality is. In reality, if you want to present this as a real thing, you're going to mess up every now and again. Sometimes you see the NBA player botch a layup or a dunk, right? And, you get a good laugh at it, or you just see someone get posterized really hard and the other guy's embarrassed. Double dribble, you get where I'm going with that. So Arisa Nakajima, Nanae Takahashi, a grand match with a grand finish. It's going to be one of my top of the year, which makes very much the top 10 that much more difficult. That's why I wanted to only talk about that one going forward for the Seedling show. And now I got another drop to play as I move on to the next segment. Here we go. The one-winged angel screams. It fuels my hopes and dreams. The best promotion. Needed a nice stiff drink after that one. That was a fun match to talk about. And I'm moving right along because this is great. Triple A, Triple Mania, Regia, Omega, Rioli, formerly known as Dragon Lee, for the Mega Championship, the best title name in wrestling. This match, do I think it was better than the Phoenix match? Well, hold on. Jay, you're in the chat. I see you there. I don't know what CK means. Now, I have seen many people directly compare this match to the Phoenix match in particular, the Dragon Lee Omega match, and say it's not on the same level. Well, I believe the opposite, and here's why. Dragon Lee and Omega, I don't believe have ever been in the same ring together, let alone had a match. While Phoenix and Omega, well, they have met each other before. So they have a very short feeling out process to start this match. Very short. I thought that they would go a little bit longer, but as soon as that feeling out phase, it lasts maybe 30 seconds. They go balls out from there. Just clicks. Dragon Lee hits a Hurricane Rana. Omega slides out to the outside. And he immediately follows that up with his torpedo suicide dive that causes Kenny to just fly over the barricade upon impact. It is an awesome visual. Basically, the match from there was each guy trying to hit their big moves, but as opposed to, say, a typical indie match where they just hit a move, hit a move, hit a move, hit a move. There's no rhyme or reason. What we got here was counter wrestling. Every big move was countered. Into a move that you believe to be where you can hit it out of nowhere, hit it faster, doesn't give the guy time to counter. Compared to this to the Phoenix match, where besides the finishers, they were hitting their bigger moves, and that's when it felt like the indie match feel, right? So there was a great spot of Lee going for his running over the top rope Hurricane Rana, in which then it takes the guy to the outside off the apron. Omega just catches him, counter wrestling, and just power bombs him onto the apron. Omega takes control. There was a lot of moves like, not as grandiose as that, but it was that counter hard-hitting wrestling. There was some good back and forth, so it didn't feel like your Lucha Libre match. It felt like a hybrid Lucha Libre with the Japanese style, something both of these guys are very much familiar with, especially Dragon Lee. And this is where, oh kitty, Dragon Lee just really impressed me in this match, because his whole style is the hybrid Lucha Libre Japanese style, and it's awesome. It's the fact that Omega can match that with never being in the ring before just really impressed me. So my favorite counter was definitely how Dragon Lee counters out of the one-wing angel into a Poison Rana. It was just a very, very good visual, very good impact. I felt it. It was great. Yes, I love the match. I love the dynamic. Maybe, you know what? I definitely say because it's their first time in the ring ever, and I know this, that raises the bar even more to what these guys did. It's all counters. Definitely my kind of styled and paced wrestling match. Fantastic. Omega does hit huge V-trigger, which he's been doing to kind of set up. He does his very animated, almost like a video game style, where he sets up the gun, bang, goes off the ropes, big V-trigger, hits his one-wing angel, pin. Fantastic. Definitely seek this match out. You can see it on YouTube for free. The camera work's a little sloppy because, well, it's AAA, so keep that in mind. That will move us on into the next segment. A new promotion. Now, where is my drop? I don't want to play that one. I know I got a new one for this. Ooh. Okay. There it is. That was Tsukasa Fujimoto's music. I finally, after all this time, as I take another drink because I just went over a great match. After all this time, I have a drop for Ice Ribbon. And good God, there's a lot of Ice Ribbon to go through. There hasn't been access in between the beginning of November to now for all their shows. And I've wanted to watch a few shows, a few big matches. I finally found them. They all kind of went up at once. So I had a lot of Ice Ribbon to catch up with. So, Ice Ribbon 1004, Osaka 4, November 3rd. There was the tag title match of Tsukasa, Fujimoto, and Tsukushi taking on Asura Revolution, the team of Maya Yukihi and Risa Sera, which they just came out with a sick-looking sweatshirt that I really want. Might have to save up and get that one, though. Match went 15 minutes, 30 seconds. The story, to my understanding, is Fujimoto has been a bit lost. She's lost in thought, so to say. Tsukushi wants a title, so to say. See where this is going. They combine their forces, affirm her wrestling ambitions, so they come together with the goal for the tag titles. They got this shot, I believe, by beating Suzu Suzuki and Takiya Saya in a main event tag match at Autumn Festival at $9.99. Could be mistaken. I believe that's what happened, though. This was a tale of two halves. First half was the wonderful glory of Yukihi versus Fujimoto in counter wrestling because they know each other so well, and it works, right? Then there was the second half of Tsukushi versus Risa Sera. Power versus the petite speed, if you will. Function between slow and fast quite well. This is, okay, I'm very critical of WWE, even old WCW, where you're a big man, so you have to wrestle this way. You're a little man, so you have to wrestle this way. Well, Risa Sera towers. She's much bigger than most Joshi over Tsukushi, who's like 4'9". You know, she could be smaller. You know, if you blink, she disappears situation. That's how tiny Tsukushi is. And there was a big guy, little guy match of Tsukushi versus Rina Yamashita, and it was the for the title tournament. And that was like the match of the tournament, right? So Tsukushi knows how to wrestle as the little guy in distress situation. Risa Sera didn't necessarily go, I'm bigger than you, I'm going to use power the whole time. It's the best way I can describe it. It was great. They worked with each other. Tsukushi just running circles around Sera, and then Sera just gets a big, like, Emerald Fusion move type in. It's great. So, Asura Revolution looks to have the win, after I move my notes, after they hit their assisted Alabama Power Slam tag move on Fujimoto, so this takes her out. Then there's a double choke slam on Tsukushi, because they're massive and she's tiny. But Tsukushi, as Maya's cocky heel of sorts, cocky champion, gets out of the ring to take care of her rival, right? Because she believes she's going to come back in this match. You know, that might not be enough. So she goes out. So that leaves power wrestler Risa Sera to take on Tsukushi after she's just been double chokeslammed. So Risa Sera goes for her air raid crash by pulling the hair and counters into a crucifix bomb. That's what Tsukushi does. She immediately follows this up with her little springboard flash pin that she does. It's kind of like she springboards off the rope, then it's a big twirl with her legs into a cradle. And bang, just like that, new tag champs. Great finish. I loved it. We're going to get to a similar finish later when we get to Dragon Gate later. Quite something. So cut to now Ice Ribbon Show 1008. So this is 4 shows later on November 23rd. We're at the end of the month. We get the Triangle Ribbon title match. It's Matsuya Uno defeating Bonnie Oikawa and Cherry, whom we've seen in do shows in Gato Move. Match goes 8 minutes. What's important here is Uno wins the title and then calls out Takiya Saya to beat her opponent, give Saya a shot at her newly won title, which Saya then accepts, and then Tei Honma just inserts herself into 3-way to join in on the fun, basically. Because we know Takiya Saya is retiring. She should be retired, but things happen. Then we get the main event of this show, which is the Ice Infinity title match, Maya's title, Maya Yukihi, taking on Suzu Suzuki. Okay. Last time I checked, Suzu Suzuki is a 17-year-old rookie. And apparently, over the last few months, she's been in an increasing amount of singles matches since August, put on some decent shows, right? Most notably was the title tournament, losing in the first round to Fujimoto. I did speak highly of that, totally forgot about it. I thought it was just Fujimoto going through the motions, really getting a great match out of the rookie, right? Well, things have certainly changed since then. Holy shit. Suzuki is now cutting ambitiously funny screaming promos, so her comedy is now in her promos to the audience's pleasure. And then, to my knowledge, she got this shot after going to a time limit draw with Fujimoto at the dojo last month. So I'm like, what is going on here? Well, this turned out to be a very decent match. It was decent. Not as good as the Julia match, where it was Maya against another rookie of sorts. But definitely showcased to the Ice Ribbon faithful that Suzu Suzuki is a big part of Ice Ribbon's future. 17 years old. It's just not fair. I can't even say Suzu's a woman. She's 17. That is a girl. And she became a woman in this match. Like, holy shit. Suzu pulls off a springboard dropkick, has amazing positioning and timing throughout the match, leading to just great flow as opposed to someone experienced doing it. Like, holy shit, right? The opposite of Utami, so to say, right? Where Utami can lead a match, okay, while Suzuki still has a ways to go, but the timing and placement's better. Hope that makes sense for you guys out there. Suzu's main move is the setup for the Sukadora bomb, but flows into a flash pin rather than the slam that Fujimoto has. The best moment and beginning of the end was definitely Maya rolls through this move, stands up, because you can't get one by Maya when she's faced Fujimoto how many times and had to learn to counter the Sukadora, right? So she rolls through the Sukadora bomb, basically. Gets a big smile on her face. She's like, you can't do that move to me. And just boots her in the face, just back kicks her real hard. Crowd just kind of just goes, oh, that's it. Kicks her head off, blackout slam, Tiger Driver bomb for the pin. Maya retains. Great stuff. She then calls out Maika Ozaki to be her opponent for the big New Year's show in Yokohama. It's finally happening for Ozaki. I couldn't be happier. That is a perfect opponent for Maya. I'm actually hoping Ozaki... Ooh, do I dare? Do I dare say I want Maya to lose? Ooh. You know what? I wouldn't be upset if Maya lost, but I wouldn't be upset if she won because I'm such a big Maya Yuki fan. If I'm going by history, I would love for Ozaki to lose this particular bout and then have an immediate rematch and win the title then. Very much paying homage to how Maya had to work to win the title off of Fujimoto. So, if you have a chance, go check out this match. If you want to see youth on a mission. Suzu Suzuki is someone to look out for. Couldn't believe my eyes. Cut to Ice Ribbon Show 1010 at Skip. Took place December 1st. Triangle title match. It's Takiya Saya defeating Matsuya Uno and Tehoma. Takiya Saya has now won the title. She wins off her tequila shot finisher. Cuts a promo, I think, saying she intends to retire with the Triangle title. Perhaps retiring the title altogether. They create a rookie title of some sorts in Ice Ribbon. And at the December 31st show, she will face... She says her main rival, doesn't give an exact name, and another opponent to kind of cap off her retirement month, since her own retirement card was messed up back in October. So this was a solid match. Then we had the main event, which is Tsukasa, Fujimoto, and Tsukushi defending their newly won tag titles against Ibuki Hoshi and Suzu Suzuki. She's back for another title chance. The match goes 15 minutes and 51 seconds. A very fast-paced tag match, something I don't think I have seen in Ice Ribbon. This is more of a tag match you would see in Stardom, actually. Makes sense since Ibuki is 16 years old, something I just found out. Suzuki's 17, Tsukushi is 22, and then you have Tsukasa Fujimoto, who's in her mid to late 30s. Jesus Christ. It was brought to my attention by a listener of the cast that the Hoshis, are not sisters, but rather mother and daughter. Mind blown. Jesus. Totally makes more sense why those tags were rough, as opposed to Homoko Hoshi's usually partner, Mochi, the Lovely Butchers, right? That was one I was like, man, every time I saw the Lovely Butchers in action, I'm like, Jesus, I'm not a fan. But needless to say, the Young Guns stood out greatly here. Ibuki has improved immensely and looks way better without her mother tagging with her. Might sound harsh, but it's very true. Tsukasa played a backseat here. She was just kind of chilling, just hanging out, while Tsukushi took the reins and worked with both people younger than her in a 1v1 situation. Suzu looks solid in transitions, pull out nice little octopus-type stretch, very similar to Hana Kimura's Hydrangea submission, actually. Ibuki's strength is definitely in her flash pin counters. She also pulled out a tequila shot of her own and her mom's little flash lumberjack rolling pin in the match. She just needs to work on her look a lot more, is Ibuki Hoshi, but definitely saw some flashes of greatness here. The best parts was the start, where there was a little comedy. There was hand stomping that Suzu did to Tsukushi. Then Tsukushi got her revenge on Ibuki twice. She was very upset. And then Tsukasa joined in on the fun. Quite funny. The second was a forearm to the chest exchange between Tsukushi and Ibuki. Just hearing hard thuds. There were great forearms. Nice and stiff. Tsukushi was rubbing her just beet red chest even after the match. Where was I? Tsukushi, yeah, the finish was a flash pin reversal from Tsukushi on Ibuki with her spring roll, so call it. Post-match, Fujimoto cuts a very heartfelt promo saying she wasn't sure if she could keep up with the next generation coming, but this tag run with Tsukushi has basically kind of given her more hope for the next generation, gives her desire to keep going. So it was very nice. Then Suzuki gets the mic and she's pissed. She's frustrated. She's lost 2 straight title attempts. She immediately wants a rematch. And the crowd actually kind of chuckled at it, at the notion that, I mean, you just lost. Why do you deserve a rematch? In which Tsukasa goes, you guys have given me such desire to keep going. I will grant you your rematch at the December 31st show. So New Year's is looking awesome. The call card came out. This one, the Maya Ozaki, I believe there's a special singles match. I don't have the card in front of me, but looks very promising. And that was Ice Ribbon. Now on to the Wrestler Spotlight as I quickly move along. I don't think I'll be able to get all this done in one taping, so Where's my Bret Hart there?
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Best there ever will be. Yes. Here we are. I miss you too, Jay, as you're in the chat. We continue our NWA US Champion Spotlight. This is Champion 21, Barry Windham, the 37th reign of the US title, winning the title in a tournament, as Dusty Rhodes had to vacate it after it was stripped, beating Nikita Koloff in the finals on May 13th, 1988. I watched that match. It was simple, to the point. You know what? I'll hold off. I'll get to it in a second. Windham would hold the title all the way through NWA, transitioning into WCW. But NWA and WCW wouldn't totally split until 1990, after short reigns from guys by the names of Michael Hayes and Stan, Mr. Cowboy, I Hit Hard Clotheslines, Hansen. Windham would reign for 283 days from May 13th, 1988 to February 20th, 1989, losing to my most hated wrestler in the universe these days, Lex Luger, at the Chi-Town Rumble. Barry Windham is the son of Blackjack Mulligan, so that's how far we've come on this journey. Now we've wrapped around to father and son. He is the brother-in-law of Mike Rotunda, aka IRS, aka VK Wall Street, aka father of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. So there you have it. So I watched the two matches of Barry Windham, and I watched some others, but the two I'm going to talk about is him winning the title and losing the title, because it's a tale of two cities. Him winning the title in the tournament was awesome. It was a technical, hard, stiff battle in which both guys went in with injuries. Koloff more so, where he had a left knee injury, worked on story-wise, and Windham was known to have, I think it was a bad back, as commentary was saying. The audio was quite muffled in what I was watching. But anyways, they have a fantastic technical, hard match. It played to both guys' strength, where Windham took control, and Koloff would do the big babyface comeback, overcome a figure four at one point to reverse, and working on Windham's knees where he couldn't support his back. There was even a good moment where Windham would go to the top, and being 6'7", like 300 and whatever pounds, just don't do that. He just killed himself. But he hit this one, and Koloff with the bum knees, well, played into kind of the Ultimate Warrior. Who did he lose to? Monkey Tonk Man? No. Rick Rude. It was the Ultimate Warrior Rick Rude finish, where Bobby Heenan, the manager of Barry Windham in this was J.J. Dillon, holds the foot down. Windham wins the title. It's classic heel face stuff. Love this match. It's definitely something worth seeking out. And then him losing the title was against Lex Luger, and oh my god, it is ridiculous. If you want to see a guy wrestle a broomstick, that's Barry Windham wrestling Lex Luger. Lex Luger, I watched the promos leading up to this. I watched the angles. Good God, if I didn't hate Lex Luger before, it is very appropriate now. What we got was Lex Luger not being able to cut promos, not knowing a fucking thing about how to move in the wrestling ring, and Barry Windham just trying to get as much as he could. His promos, he's just going after Luger, saying you're just a bodybuilder, you can't move right, you don't have a chance, etc., etc. There was an angle where Windham breaks his hand, so he has it heavily taped up, in which then Luger works the hand in the match, so at least there's that. But when I'm saying Luger worked it, he just, when Windham got an iron claw on, he just kind of grabbed his hand, right? And Windham sold it. It was the whole match of Windham selling a handicap to try and get Lex Luger over to come back. And I did like the finish, though. The finish was very much an NWA, let's do a screwy, weird, different finish to continue the feud. So what ends up happening is Windham performs a wild backdrop on Luger, right? But because his hand hurt so bad, he wasn't able to totally clasp the hands. So the pain caused him to not realize his own shoulders were down. So then at the last second before 3 is counted, Luger gets a shoulder up, and Windham does not. Therefore, new US champion. And they go from there. When I was doing more promo researches and match researches, it really got me to see, of the time of this 1989 era, 1990, heading into the WCW era, where we're ultimately going to end this NWA journey. It doesn't make sense to cover the NWA US title, and when it becomes the WCW US title, to continue, right? So the NWA US... Windham was very much a main eventer. His biggest issue was definitely his body, the way it looked. He wasn't jacked enough, right? He didn't have the Lex Luger look, basically. And who was getting a push was anybody that looked like Lex Luger or thereabouts. Sting was a vast, I think, exception to the rule because he was just a natural babyface. What separated Windham from, say, Steamboat was, to me, it's not so much the technical ability in the ring, right? Steamboat is one of the best ever. He could get anyone over in the ring, run any match with anybody. The same with Ric Flair. But Windham was a 6'7" guy, 300 pounds, not chiseled, and that wasn't good enough of the era. Even though he could sell, he was part of the Horsemen. Maybe that was his other issue, is he was always overshadowed. And when he finally got off on his own, it was very short-lived. He wasn't the guy, and it's so frustrating looking back because I'm not totally familiar with Barry Windham. He's a guy before my time in a promotion that I wasn't familiar with yet, right? Sure, I was familiar with WCW, not NWA. When WCW rolled around, Windham was injured all the time, so I never saw him. It's kind of like going down memory road with Vader when I did the Spotlight. I loved Vader, but I just never saw enough of him. Same thing with Scott Norton, which I'm discovering now. This dude is fucking awesome. And I just feel it was missed opportunities with this guy. When we went back, and it's a huge shame what ended up happening to Magnum TA. He was for sure lined up to be at the main event. Barry Windham could have been that guy. Whether he was heel or face, that's up to you to decide. I saw him both face and heel in the Spotlight. He could work both. I think he's a much better heel because he could sell and work for a babyface like Lex Luger of all people and try and get that over. But hey, Barry Windham, very much worth it. Iron Claw had a little bit of everything. He was an all-rounder. If I'm to go back and watch old NWA pay-per-views, I'm going to be very excited to see Windham on the card. I'm putting Windham up there with... He didn't have as much charisma as other guys, but he could definitely cut a good promo. My opinion, of course. And not on the live stream, but you will... next time you hear me by myself, we will be doing All Japan Women Classics. For those of you listening on iTunes, Spotify, and others, this will now be the transition into the weekly wrestling recap with my mother, talking beyond MLW and AEW the last couple weeks. So I'll see you in a bit as I start drinking some nice scotch. Get nice and stiff here for the next few segments. right, All Japan Women Classics from Puroso Dream and Samurai TV, Episode 9, the date, December 12th, 1985. So, we're almost at that anniversary date. Venue is Ota Ward Gymnasium. What we are getting here on this card is utterly beautiful. This is beautiful wrestling, guys. You just don't even know. It is one thing I've discovered on this All Japan Women Wrestling is this style and the way the characters are holds up today so damn well. And this is no exception to the rule. We get the rookie tournament final of Hisako Uno versus Akemi Sakamoto. So, Uno here looked absolutely awkward. She looked skinny, totally petrified. So here I am thinking, enhancement. Skip this match, right? Am I right, guys? What it sounds like. Much like the first match on a Stardom rookie card not named Saya, right? Turns out, this is what I do with a lot of these. See a name, Google, get the backstory, but get a little history. Do we see this person once? Do we see him more on? Turns out, this is 6 months from her rookie debut in the career, Akira Hokuto. Are you kidding me? Doesn't remotely resemble my picture of Akira, even at a young age. Crazy. Anyways, match goes 3 minutes. Akira hits a few drop kicks, and Akemi, whom is part of Dump's Gokaku Dome faction, I assume this was part of the rookie tournament itself, simply shoots on her, pins her to the mat, simple, and at the very least has me paying attention to the future of both these competitors. So, it only went 3 minutes, not much to talk about. It was just, here's 2 goddamn rookies you need to pay attention with. That's why it's on the classics. Then we get the AJW Championship match, so think of kind of the mid-card title of sorts in AJW. It's Bull Nakano, the champion, taking on Yumi Ogura. Also not much of a match, just Bull Nakano being just massive compared to Ogura. Nakano's thighs alone would crush this woman, probably your skull, probably my skull. Sure enough, that basically happens too. A few big hits by Bull. Bull does a top rope crossbody that just splats her. Shoot pins her to the mat. Simple enough. We get the Jumbo Hori retirement match that follows. Jumbo Hori versus Yukari Omori. So basically we get a highlight package of the Dynamite Girls. Get all their moves. Jumbo hits power bombs. Did some of her technical stuff. And at the end, it's a draw. It was simple, not long. They do a nice little ceremony post-match. Only a 7-year career for Jumbo Hori. I mean, she would briefly step into the ring sporadically due to kind of Lady Legends Pro Wrestling, some brief appearances like most Legend Joshis, but she's done here. It's a meaningful moment in Joshi wrestling of the time. Jumbo Hori was part of the Dynamite Girls, one of the big tag teams of the era that wasn't named the Crush Gals or Gokaku Dome. And the Jumping Bomb Angels, whom at this point, I believe, were doing things abroad in the WWF. But the main event is the big match here. It is Devil Masami, the All-Pacific champion, taking on Dump Matsumoto. And this was for both the Pacific title and the vacant 3WA World title. In hindsight, I probably should have looked up why this title was vacant at the time. I can only assume, or not only assume, but from what I've seen, I can assume that Jaguar Yokota had to vacate the title due to injury. Because I don't remember on the classics her losing the title at any point. So anyways, I liked the match, but it was very old school. This is a match that I could see being tough to hold up, because Dump Matsumoto is a killer, Devil Masami is an evil heel. And you know how evil someone must be, or so terrifying, that Devil Masami, she is literally called Devil, gets cheered in the match. That's how evil and maniacal and terrifying Dump Matsumoto is. So she just beats the hell out of Devil Masami. for like 17 minutes. And Devil Masami occasionally would have a small little flurry comeback and then get down, right? They're taking it outside. Devil Masami's busted up a little bit. People are cheering for her. I mean, she's got a great look. She looks like a devil, vampire, samurai person, while Del Matsumoto looks like someone taken out of a post-apocalyptic Fist of the North Star episode, right? It's nuts. Eventually, we get to the finish, and it's been all Dump Matsumoto going to this point, using weapons, her faction getting involved, Devil Masami's faction mostly staying out of it. It seems like the booking here was very apparent that Dump Matsumoto is the most terrifying person on the planet, and whomever faces her, whomever it might be, will get cheered. And sure enough, that ends up happening. Masami comes back, and eventually Gokaku Dome get chased off by the Crush Gals and Masami's group to even the odds. And at the very end, Dump Matsumoto's on the turnbuckle, punching the crap out of Masami. Masami's trying to reverse into a big powerbomb spot. And whom but, of course it is, Chigusa Nagayo and Linus Asuka. Mostly Chigusa Nagayo helps out with an assisted powerbomb. Has a big, I got my revenge on Dump Matsumoto moment. Devil Masami wins. She's just crying her eyes out because she's finally won the big title in All Japan Women. Big ovation. And Chigusa Nagayo, with most of her, she's got a very boyish look now, right? Her hair's not quite back. It's very buzzed. Her and Devil Masami look at each other, kind of a sign of respect. It's crazy. I did like the beginning of the match where Masami and Dump both have big kendo sticks, and they stare at each other. And they both hand the kendo stick to the ref off to the side, like, we don't need this. And then Dump Matsumoto proceeds to use weapons for the rest of the match, but not a kendo stick. Sign of respect, I suppose, between heels. I definitely like the last couple episodes more because there was a lot more to talk about. The main events were much better, but this show served a purpose for just what a classic is. And that is the All Japan Women Classic segment. As I move on. Oh yeah. You know what time it is, everybody. As I stall to find. I know I had a new drop made. Yes, I do. Here it is. Yeah, buddy, that was Julia's entrance music. Yes! The time has come. I gotta take a drink, just getting ready for this one. I only have a little bit of time left, so this is gonna... If I get cut off here soon, you're just gonna have to go find the rest of the episode on iTunes and Spotify. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of cut for time here. But I will, at the very least, get through Stardom. Shinkiba, November 23rd. There was the three-way. I have to finish off the Shinkiba shows. And we didn't get to in the last episode because they weren't out yet on Stardom World. So on November 23rd, there was a three-way between Riho, high-speed champion, Hana Kimura, and Hazuki. Hazuki doing her retirement tour of sorts. A very good three-way high-speed match, basically. And there's a funny spot here where Hana has Hazuki in the Liger stretch. I think it's the Mexican surfboard. But I see Liger has done it his entire career. Riho kind of sneaks in and tries to pin Hana underneath. It's quite great. I absolutely loved it. It's a match worth checking out. And there was another three-way the day after of Priestley, Starlight Kid, and Miyagi. Starlight Kid is kind of in a rut. And Miyagi is in between getting ready, getting kicked out of a Oedo Tai and getting ready for her singles match against Kagetsu. Priestley kicks everyone's head off. Lots of good back and forth, much like the previous three-way. Priestley gets the win. Very much so. Top Gaijin. The Osaka Day Show on December 1st, there was a trios match of TCS against Oedo Tai. The TCS team was Death, Hana, and Jungle. And the Oedo Tai team was Jamie Hayter, Martina, and Natsu Sumire. So kind of party girl group. Match goes 7 minutes. Ends with Death Yamasan. Hana kicking Martina, I believe, doing the kick and into the death roll. Well-worked match. As usual, it's Stardom. TCS going over Oedo Tai. Good decision there. Then we got an 8-man tag, Riho and Stars taking on the team of Queen's Quest, Azumi, B. Priestley, Momo, and Utami. When you put them together, they are the Artist Champions, and here we get a devastating moment of realization where Saki pins Momo Watanabe, of all people. Gets her again with her stolen revival from Natsu Sumire. So just like in the 5-star, Saki pins Momo again. So we have a story brewing here. The devastation to my heart goes up 3 notches. And then the main event's tag team match of Stars, Arisa, and Mayu taking on Oedo Tai, Hazuki, and Kagetsu. Team Moon goes 15 minutes. An excellent tag match. I quite enjoyed it. You can kind of tell that Kagetsu is definitely going to miss Hazuki quite a lot. This is the last time they're tagging together. It was a very special match. We got a nice little moment of Arisa and Hazuki kind of staring at each other one last time. One of the best Arisa title defenses. I know a lot of people like the Tam match more. I love the Tom match. I just think I'm still of the mind that the Hazuki Arisa one had much more character work in it. From Arisa kicking the hand away off the rope and etc. and the pulling of the hair. Hazuki always brings a fire to her matches. And yep, Arisa and Mayu win. That is the last time we will see Team Moon again. Very sad moment once it's all said and done. The Osaka Night Show on the same day of December 1st. Riho and Starlight Kid defeat Itsuki Saya and Saya Kamitami. I know it's Itsuka Saya Hoshino. Every rookie from this day forward is now named Saya. I have dubbed it. They go 8.5 minutes. So, this began Saya's struggle to hit her running shooting star. Whether she short jumps it or long jumps it, it's quite funny. It's if you go on various Twitter accounts, you can see the short and the long jumps of Saya missing it. But this is where Starlight Kid, if you count the trio, the 8-man tag from the day show, this is where Starlight Kid goes on a winning streak, right? Every match she's in, she wins now. And Riho has yet to be pinned in Stardom. She has lost matches, but she herself hasn't been pinned. So kind of the Shingo treatment. I actually had to double check that. I go, has Riho ever been pinned in Stardom? I think so, and that is true. This is a good little youngster match, basically. We get another 8-man tag. Arisa, Mayu, Saki, Tam of Stars taking on the same Queen's Quest team as aforementioned from the day show. And we get a really funny moment here of now Queen's Quest is pissed. They lost. We even have Momo ripping Saki to the center of the ring, and a good little funny moment, in fact, of all of Queen's Quest here just kicking the shit out of Saki. Well, it came back to bite him in the end, because after it was all said and done, I believe Saki pins Azumi this time. So another member of the Trios team pinned by Saki via the stolen revival pin. It was after a few big double team moves, though, I believe, if I have my facts straight. And that's when Saki cuts a promo after the match saying the zombie has risen. They want the trios titles. Momo tries to get some of her face back by saying, you just won some non-title matches. That means nothing. So we're definitely building towards the Christmas show for these artist titles. Good build, I will say. Even though my main girl and star, you know, if they're not part of TCS, I'm definitely a Momo fan. I'm definitely a Queen's Quest fan. I have the Queen's Quest shirt. Before TCS was a thing, I was a Queen's Quest fan, and I still am. It's just getting much tougher now. Then we have the 10-man elimination tag match. Oedo Tai against Tokyo Cyber Squad. So the big heavy hitters from all the teams that wasn't in the show prior. I'm just gonna go down the list here. Hana Kimura eliminates Natsu. Martina eliminates Zoe Lucas. Thank God. Jungle Kiona eliminates Martina. Tora eliminates Jungle because, of course, that's just the story of their relationship. Death eliminates Tora shortly after. Hazuki eliminates Death because that plays off their high-speed title feud. Kagetsu eliminates Hana, so that might be building something there. Who knows? Konami eliminates Kagetsu because former Red Belt rival there. Hazuki then eliminates Konami to be the sole survivor. A nice little moment for the retiring wrestler. Cut to the December 8th show, the last one we're covering on this cast. So I might get done with WXW here if time allows it. I believe there's time. But the December 8th show at Shinkiba, Rookie of Stardom semifinals. So we're at the rookie tournament here, since we just got some rookies in Ice Ribbon there. Saya Kamitami defeats Itsuki Hoshino, which had no business being this good, to be honest. Saya Kamitami hit a very good flash combination, kind of sweeping the legs out and then doing a backhand spring, one-handed backhand spring, so kind of a breakdancing move. Really not a gymnastics move. Throwing the knees into Itsuki. Itsuki is definitely much better than I thought she was going to be. She's got a much higher end look to her than most rookies that come out of Stardom, such as the Ruakas, the Leo Onozaki, of those, Hinarina. Itsuki is definitely more higher up on the totem pole, and that moves on to another 8-man tag, Riho and Stars taking on Queen's Quest. Or maybe this was the show with the beatdown. You know what? I'm losing track of these 8-man tags now, because now there's been 3 of them. Needless to say, Stars wins every single one of them. I believe Saki got the pin in... No! Starlight got the pin in this. She actually hits her code red on Azumi. So Azumi eats another pin. This definitely could have been the one where Momo and Queen's Quest beat. Regardless, doesn't matter. The point still stands. And this is where Starlight cuts a promo after the match saying she wants all the titles. She wants she wants all the titles that she thinks she can conceivably get. So that involves the artist titles. That involves her and Riho cashing in their opportunity to go for the goddess titles, the tag. And then Starlight wants to challenge Riho for the high speed title. So that's 3 titles. She wants to be a triple champion, her own little version of Triple Crown champion. She doesn't know when each opportunity will present itself, but she wants to win them. And so very ambitious. SLK going forward. We get our Stardom Rookie final match, Saya against Saya. It goes 7 minutes, and I definitely like the Hoshino Kamitani match much more than this one. I'm still not on the Ida train. Ida shows flashes of being good. She's still very limited in the ring. Kamitani and Hoshino, I think, are above her in this sense. This was just good booking to show that Ida got to the final, and she is equal to Hoshino. I think that's my interpretation of it. And the right decision, Kamitani does win. She finally starts hitting her running shooting star press here, gets the win that way. So Kagetsu taking on Miyagi, and kind of unexpected. Kagetsu defeats Miyagi. The match goes... it didn't impress me. It goes 9 minutes and 12 seconds. It was fine. Kagetsu really tried to do her technical work over Miyagi, who still just doesn't... She doesn't get it, right? There was moments in the match, I would say from about the 5 minute to 7 minute mark that it was good, where Miyagi was more or less in charge and Kagetsu was selling. When Kagetsu was in charge, there was something missing there. Just can't put my finger on it. But all of Oedo Tai does get involved to basically cost Miyagi the match. There's a miss spot. There's a sign. There's the Oedo Tai sign. El Kabong spot. Miyagi loses, and I think the bigger story isn't the fact that they had an average match. It's the fact that Miyagi lost, and then Kagetsu cuts a promo saying, look, people have come and gone out of Oedo Tai, but she's never kicked anyone out before. So now, on Andress, you need to figure out who you are, who Miyagi is, and what you're going to do from here on out. And those are some wise words. Because Miyagi has been lost in the ring and in her ways in Stardom, basically since coming there. She looked strong at first, but she's been floundering. And this could be an opportunity for her to find not so much a new gimmick, but a new persona and a way to just flow in the ring. So I guess we'll see where this goes. I could see Miyagi going to TCS, obviously. That's the first one. Or with Julia coming in and possibly, say, B. Priestley and Jamie Hayter being Gaijins, and they're all on the bigger side, we could see some sort of kind of outsiders edge situation here, right? Because those four come from different promotions, they're all on the bigger side. Who knows? There are possibilities. Maybe just joining TCS, giving them a little bit more depth, and then someone else comes into Oedo Tai, give them more depth. There's a number of ways they could go with this. So the story here is the more important part rather than the match itself. Then we got Julia's debut, big debut in Stardom against Hazuki. And this match goes 15 minutes. It was rough, but it definitely underwhelmed. But from my point of view, what I saw here in front of me was Hazuki is a name. People know her. And from a booking standpoint, Julia defeats her, right? So that puts her immediately higher on a totem pole. Okay, great. Match-wise, I saw Julia testing the waters of what she can and can't do in Stardom. What can she do persona-wise and charisma-wise in the ring, and how she can carry herself to the fans, and what moves exactly she can pull off in the ring. So there's instances here where you see a lot of this. It ranged from her doing her entrance where she doesn't stand in the middle of the ring to receive streamers. She stood on the turnbuckle. You don't do that in Stardom. You do that in Ice Ribbon, right? You can do whatever you want in Ice Ribbon during an entrance. It's your thing. I even heard gasps or people questioning, like, what is she doing on the turnbuckle situation? You know, best you get is like Kagetsu, a mainstay, a big name in the promotion. You know, where she stands in the middle and then she goes to the corner. Just little things like that. There was a chair shot in the stands early in the match where Julia kind of doesn't know how she's allowed to hit her exactly. So she kind of does a soft tap to the gut in which Hazuki no-sells, throws her to the ground, and teaches her immediately, this is how you do it here in Stardom. And just whack! Right on the ground, right on her legs. It's just like, oh my god. Most notably to me was definitely the moment where there's a forearm exchange. Now in Ice Ribbon, and you can even take Seedling as another example, they hit hard and stiff. You will forearm the piss out of your neck, your chin, your chest especially, in the Joshi scene. You don't really see that in Stardom. In Stardom, you see technical over that kind of ring work, right? So Julia hits the piss out of Hazuki, and Hazuki just wasn't having it. We even saw I believe we saw Julia in, I believe there was a tag match she was in. And Julia forearms Hana hard. And Hana kind of gets out of the way. No. You know what? You know what? I'm thinking of when Jamie Hayter and Hana Kimura faced each other off in the elimination match, and afterwards, because Jamie Hayter just cracked Hana so hard in the chest, stiff, Hana rolled out until she got eliminated, and then looks at Jamie Hayter after the match, being like, "Hey, you're mine," kind of situation. So that was interesting. But Julia does some forearms, and Hazuki just wasn't having it. So there's gonna be some adjustment for Julia in the Stardom style, which we've spoken about with Andres Miyagi, with how people work with Riho because she's really small. Very interesting. She got that big win, and that is Stardom. Looking forward to the rest of the year. We have one more Stardom cast to finish out the year. Can't wait to talk about it and see how this is all played out in the end. For sure. There is a message for me. So this is the time when I'm going to have to log off here and finish up this podcast another day. I got to go for now. I'll see you next time, everybody. Logging off.